Emily Parker had always been a lover of quiet, secluded places. After years of living in the bustling city, she decided it was time for a change. When she stumbled upon an old Victorian-era house in the countryside, she was instantly captivated by its charm. The price was surprisingly low, but she brushed off any doubts, attributing it to the house's age and remote location. Emily moved in during the late autumn, as the days grew shorter and the nights colder. She was eager to start fresh, imagining peaceful evenings by the fireplace, reading her favorite books. However, from the moment she stepped into the house, she felt an unsettling chill that had nothing to do with the weather. The first night in the house was uneventful, though Emily couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The wind howled outside, and the old wooden floors creaked under her steps. As she settled into bed, she heard faint, almost imperceptible whispers. She dismissed them as her imagination running wild in the unfamiliar environment. The following days were busy with unpacking and settling in. Emily explored the house, discovering its quirks and hidden nooks. She found an old, dusty attic filled with forgotten furniture and boxes of belongings left behind by previous owners. Among the items, she found a collection of photographs, yellowed with age, depicting a family who once lived there: a father, mother, and their 2 children. Emily spent her afternoons cleaning the house, trying to make it feel like home. She discovered a love for the antique furnishings, each piece telling its own story. She also noticed that the house was unusually silent. The usual sounds of birds chirping or distant traffic were absent. This silence added to the eerie atmosphere that seemed to grow thicker with each passing day. As the days turned into weeks, the strange occurrences began. Emily would wake up to find doors open that she was certain she had closed. Objects seemed to move on their own. She'd place her keys on the kitchen counter only to find them on the dining table later. She heard soft footsteps in the hallway at night, and the whispers grew louder, more distinct. One evening, as she was reading by the fireplace, she heard a soft voice behind her. Turning quickly, she saw nothing but the empty room. Her heart pounded in her chest. Determined to get to the bottom of these strange events, she decided to visit the local library to learn more about the house's history. During her visit to the library, Emily found an old caretaker who had worked at the house many years ago. He told her stories of strange happenings and the tragic fate of the Williams family. His eyes grew distant as he recalled the nights he spent hearing whispers and seeing shadows that shouldn't be there. He warned Emily to be careful, but she was determined to uncover the truth. At the library, Emily found an old newspaper article about the house. It detailed a tragic event that occurred over 50 years ago. The Williams family, who lived there, vanished without a trace one stormy night. The only survivor was their young daughter, Lily, who was found wandering in the woods, muttering about whispers in the dark. She was taken in by relatives but never spoke of that night again. Emily's curiosity deepened. She spent hours poring over old records and talking to the town's older residents. They all had the same eerie tales about the house, stories of strange noises, ghostly apparitions, and the persistent feeling of being watched. Some even claimed the house was cursed, built on ancient grounds, where dark rituals were performed long ago. Emily also discovered a journal from one of the town's historians, who had documented numerous sightings and strange events associated with the house. The historian believed that the land itself was cursed, dating back to the time when a local cult used it for their dark ceremonies. This new information sent shivers down Emily's spine, but it also fueled her determination to solve the mystery. Returning home, Emily couldn't shake the sense of dread that had settled over her. That night, as she lay in bed, the whispers came again, clearer this time. They seemed to be calling her name, pleading for help. "Emily, help us, free us." The voice was that of a child, fragile and sorrowful. Unable to sleep, she decided to follow the whispers. They led her through the darkened house, down to the basement. She had avoided the basement since moving in, finding it cold and uninviting. But now, compelled by the voices, she descended the creaky stairs. The basement was cluttered with old furniture and boxes. In one corner, she found a small door, almost hidden behind a pile of junk. creaked open to reveal a hidden room, untouched by time. In the center of the room was a small table with an old, leather-bound book and a collection of candles. Emily took the book upstairs, her hands trembling. It was a journal, filled with entries from the Williams family. The last entries were from Lily, the young girl who survived. She wrote about the whispers, the spirits trapped in the house, and the dark rituals that bound them. Lily had tried to free them, but failed. Her last entry was a desperate plea for someone to finish what she started. Determined to help the restless spirits, Emily decided to perform the ritual described in the journal. It required specific items, many of which were already in the hidden room. The final step had to be done at midnight under a full moon, in the basement where the spirits were strongest. Emily spent hours preparing herself mentally and emotionally for the ritual. She read and reread the journal entries, ensuring she understood each step. She also researched similar rituals in old folklore books, trying to find any additional guidance or protection spells that could help her. Emily spent the next few days gathering the remaining items and preparing for the ritual. She cleansed the hidden room, setting up the candles and arranging the items as instructed in the journal. Each night, the whispers grew more urgent, pushing her to hurry. As the night of the full moon approached, the house became increasingly hostile. Objects flew across rooms, doors slammed shut on their own, and the temperature dropped to an icy chill. Emily could feel the spirits' desperation, their hope resting on her shoulders. One particularly chilling evening, Emily found herself locked in the attic, surrounded by whispering voices. They seemed angry, impatient. After what felt like hours, the door finally opened on its own, and she stumbled out, shaken, but more determined than ever. The night of the full moon arrived. Emily lit the candles and opened the journal to the final page. She began reciting the incantation, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting around her. Shadows danced on the walls, and the whispers turned into cries of anguish. As she reached the final verse, a powerful force knocked her to the ground. The room grew darker, and the spirits appeared, their ghostly forms swirling around her. Emily fought to stay focused, repeating the final words with all her strength. The spirits screamed, a deafening sound that shook the very foundations of the house. With a final desperate cry, Emily completed the ritual. A blinding light filled the room, and the spirits were drawn towards it, their cries turning to sighs of relief. The light grew brighter until Emily could no longer see. She closed her eyes, feeling a warm, comforting presence envelop her. Just as she thought it was over, Emily felt a cold hand grasp her arm. She opened her eyes to see the ghost of a man, likely Mr. Williams, staring at her with a mix of anger and desperation. "Why did you come here?" he hissed. "You don't belong here." Emily, terrified but resolute, replied, "I'm here to free you, all of you." When she opened her eyes, the room was still and quiet. The spirits were gone. The oppressive atmosphere lifted. Emily felt an overwhelming sense of peace. She knew the spirits had been freed, and the house was finally at rest. Exhausted, she made her way upstairs. As she prepared to leave the house for good, she heard a faint whisper. Turning around, she saw the ghost of Lily, the young girl who had survived the original tragedy. Lily smiled sadly and said, "Thank you," before vanishing. Emily realized that while most of the spirits were free, some would always remain, forever tied to the house's dark history. Emily decided to leave the house, knowing it was time to move on. As she drove away, she glanced back one last time. The house stood silently, bathed in the soft glow of the morning sun. It looked peaceful, almost inviting, but Emily knew better. She knew the secrets it held, and the spirits that still lingered within its walls. Her experience changed her forever. She wrote a book about the haunting, sharing her story with the world. It became a bestseller, and people from all over came to see the infamous house. But Emily never returned. She had done her part, freed the trapped souls, and in doing so, found her own peace. Years passed, and Emily's life had taken a turn for the better. She'd become a well-known author, with her book about the haunted house turning into a bestseller. Emily had moved to a bustling city, far from the quiet countryside. Despite her newfound success and the busy life she led, a part of her mind always wandered back to that old Victorian house. One cold winter evening, Emily received an unexpected letter. It was from an elderly woman named Margaret, who claimed to be Lily Williams' cousin. Margaret explained that she had read Emily's book and felt compelled to reach out. She revealed that there was more to the story, secrets that even Lily had not known. Intrigued and unable to resist the pull of the past, Emily decided to visit Margaret. The meeting took place in a quaint cottage on the outskirts of a small town. Margaret, frail but sharp-witted, greeted Emily warmly. She shared stories of the Williams family, painting a picture of their life before the tragedy. Margaret disclosed that the house's curse originated from a pact made by an ancestor of the Williams family with dark forces, promising prosperity in exchange for a soul every generation. The whispers were the voices of those trapped by the pact, unable to move on. As Margaret spoke, Emily felt a chill run down her spine. The pieces of the puzzle began to fit together, and she realized that while she had freed the spirits, the curse itself might still linger. Margaret handed Emily an old, weathered box containing family heirlooms, including a key and a faded map. The map pointed to an ancient burial ground near the house, believed to be the source of the curse. Determined to end the curse once and for all, Emily knew she had to return to the house. She gathered her courage and set out for the old Victorian home once more. Arriving at dusk, the house looked just as she remembered, eerily quiet and shrouded in a fog of mystery. Using the map and key, Emily made her way to the burial ground. The air grew colder and the whispers returned, but this time they were different. They were guiding her, urging her to complete the task. At the center of the burial ground, she found an ancient stone altar. Following Margaret's instructions, Emily performed a final ritual, breaking the pact and freeing the Williams family from their ancestral burden. As the ritual concluded, a powerful gust of wind swept through the area, and Emily felt a palpable shift in the atmosphere. The oppressive weight that had hung over the house and land was lifted. The whispers turned into a harmonious hum, a song of freedom and peace. Returning to the house for one last time, Emily walked through its now silent halls. She felt a sense of closure, knowing that she had finally put the past to rest. The house, once a place of fear and sorrow, now stood as a testament to the power of resolve and courage.